spun to run. In the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, he defeated a loaded field that included multiple Grade 1 winners Omaha Beach and Improbable. His brilliant speed figures were among the fastest of any 3-year-old at a mile or more. And he hails from the legendary Danzig sire line. Multiple graded stakes winner, millionaire, Breeders' Cup champion, spun to run, standing at Gainesway.
Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF Race of the Day for Saturday, February the 26th, the Grade 2 $1 million Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn. It's carded as race number 11. We're going a mile and a 16th for the 3-year-olds with Kentucky Derby points on the line for most, but not all, in this field. Let's take a look at this group. We do have a big field for the Rebel with a $1 million purse. Why not? You can download free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page, drf.com. Access them, handicap along with us. Our coverage is presented by Gainesway, home of the legendary stallion Tappet, who is represented in this year's Rebel by the number 6, Stellar Tap, trained by Steve Asmussen. Mike, New Grange not eligible for the Derby points, being trained by Bob Baffert, but the favorite is the horse to beat.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he is the horse to beat. It's, several of the same horses that he just, ultimately handled in the Southwest most recently, Dan. I mean, I don't feel like when you go back and watch the Southwest, you're going to be blown away by that performance, but he did get the job done, and he's still so lightly raced that I feel like you could still project another forward move from him here.
There does appear to be a good amount of pace in this race, and I do believe the number 1, Kavat, has to take advantage of the inside post. We throw up that time from U.S. pace projector. It'll be interesting to see how fast they go. I expect the number 1 to go. I would expect New Grange to show a good amount of early speed, and after that, you have some trackers and stalkers.
Yeah, I we'll see how fast they go early. I felt like in some ways, and we'll see how it plays out, I felt in some ways the key to the pace could be the 7, Ben Diesel. He showed a lot of speed in the sloppy track Smarty Jones 2 starts back then. Now his hand was forced that day by a tough outside post. Last time he had the rail in the Southwest and they rated him and set a good trip. It didn't work out when they tried to sit with him though, Dad. I wonder if they get more aggressive again in this race.
Let's talk about Kavat. He's just a little overachiever, isn't this? Son of Lee, a stakes-winning sprinter, 3 starts back. He ran 4th in both the Smarty Jones and the Southwest, and he carved out a legitimate pace in the Southwest last time out. I thought he ran okay. He'll likely have to do better, and I think he might be better going shorter.
I mean, I think ultimately he's going to be better going shorter too. That being said, he ran well in the Smarty Jones and he ran well in the Southwest. I don't feel like, a repeat of either of those performances is going to get him the money here. And I'm not sure that I would bet him to take a step forward necessarily, especially if he's got, other horses breathing down his neck. I just like this horse. He's a real hard trying horse. He's very underrated. And he's going to be a price once again if you like him.
New Grange, the number 2, 3 for 3 for Bob Baffert. He's won 2 graded stakes this year, including the Southwest at Oaklawn Park, beating 4 of these same foes. Let's watch the Southwest. Mike mentioned you're not going to be blown away by this performance, and you're not, because he seemed to be one paced on the second turn and in a little bit of deep water, and he grinds it out to get up with an 89 buyer speed figure. On second glance, he was chasing a pretty solid pace. It was the first time he was in behind horses in his career. He did what he had to do. I think this is the kind of performance, a good learning experience that he could build off of.
Yeah, I think those things are probably true as well. I would also just point out that he also carried all the ground in the Southwest. He was wide around the racetrack there, and he just, stayed on to the end and eventually just proved to be better than those horses. And that just sort of looks like it's going to be his deal going forward, Dan. I know he won first time out going 6 furlongs, but he did not look like a sprinter at all that day. And I just feel like he gets stronger as the races get longer.
The number 3, Kairama, skipped the Southwest. He raced in the prior prep at Oaklawn, the Smarty Jones. It was a race contested over a sloppy track. There was a fast pace. He came from off of it. He ran okay. I think he's going to have to do a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't do anything in the Smarty Jones that would, make me want to bet him back in this race, Dan. He had a really fast pace in front of him that day. I know it was a wet track, and maybe that's, some kind of mitigation for him. But that race set up great for him, and he was never a real factor in that race. Maybe the time off has done him some good. But personally, I don't like any of his 4 races so far.
If the pace is fast, keep an eye on the number 4, Unoho. Let's watch his last race where he came from left field in the withers against early voting, who just bounced out to a big lead turning into the stretch. Unoho might have been 20 lengths out of it on the back stretch. He's going to squeeze his way on through in between horses. He doesn't threaten the runaway winner, but he was game to get up for second.
Yeah, he's going to wind up getting up for second here at a really big price. And, you know, at the end of the day, Dan, he took advantage of a really strong pace in this race and a great ride from Trevor McCarthy to lose no ground and just sort of stay towards the inside. You know, listen, he's another horse who's a little bit of an overachiever, but he's run second at prices in his last 2 starts in 2 races that set up great for him with fast paces, and he just sort of took advantage. You know, maybe he'll get another setup like that here, but you got to get another big price if you're going to bet him.
Last fall's Kentucky Jockey Club thus far has proven to be a really key race. Horses like White Abarrio and Classic Causeway coming out to run huge races in major Kentucky Derby preps. Texas Hot Rod didn't really make much of an impact in that race. He didn't have a lot of pace to run at. He didn't run very well at a big price, but he is coming out of that race. And it's an interesting spot for a horse that showed a little bit of ability at 2. He now has to prove he's stakes class.
Yeah, he's got a lot to prove in this race, but you're right. I mean, he did win, you know, a couple of races last year, including that 1 mile race, the first time they stretched him out in October with a 75 buyer. I thought he ran fine in that race. He's probably going to sit this thing out there and try to make one run. And he's another horse who's going to be a price in here. He's a little bit of an unknown. So if you want to take a shot with him, I'm not going to argue too hard with it.
The 6, Stellar Tap, the son of Gainesway stallion Tappet, was a debut winner at Saratoga, going 7/8 of a mile. Didn't love the field he beat. I know there were a couple of next out winners in that race. They've stretched him out in 3 subsequent starts, and he's run fine. Not to the level of the debut win, and I wonder how far eventually this horse is going to want to go. His last race at the fairgrounds, beaten favorite, but an okay effort.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I liked his debut a lot. I don't like his 3 subsequent starts all that much. He had a little bit of trouble last time in that allowance race against a horse who did come back to run well last weekend in a graded stakes race. I don't know, Dan. I look at him and just sort of feel like if he was going to be some kind of huge price, I guess I could throw him in there. But I just don't like his dirt races since they've stretched him out. And I wonder, you know, he's got so much turf on the bottom of his pedigree. I wonder if that's not going to be where his future is.
The 7, Ben Diesel, had an excuse for that Smarty Jones. As Mike mentioned early on, the horse was part of a red-hot pace after breaking from post position 13 over a sloppy track and paid the price. You can go back in your formulator past performances, click on the short comment, and watch the replay of the Southwest. Ben Diesel saved ground in behind horses, seemed to be moving very well turning into the stretch. He got a seam up the rail, and he kind of wandered a bit, bumped with another horse, and finished evenly. It was a good performance, and we do know he has tactical speed. I think he's learning.
I do too. And it was a step forward as far as figures go, but man, did he get a great trip in that race and just didn't, to me anyway, just didn't really do a lot with it. I mean, I guess unless you want to go back and look at that card at Oaklawn on January 29th and say he didn't want to be inside. I don't know. Other than that, he has no excuses as far as I'm concerned. I would just like to see them get really aggressive with him here again, Dan. He was pretty good 2 back, showing a lot of speed. I'd like to see him go back to riding him that way.
If you don't like the horses coming out of the Southwest, you have an alternative, especially the 8, Chasing Time. Let's watch Chasing Time's most recent victory. He's won 2 out of his last 3 starts for trainer Steve Asmussen. This was his first start around 2 turns, and he just dominated an allowance race at Oaklawn. He broke very well. The pace wasn't fast. He let another horse brush to the lead on the backstretch. He came to hand very nicely for Joel Rosario, produced 3 wide on the turn. He won in ridden out fashion.
Yeah, I liked that win quite a bit. I don't think that was a great field, but I do like the way that he won it. I also like the way that he broke his maiden 3 starts back then, going 7 furlongs. I thought that was another good performance. In between, you know, they cut him back from 7 to 6. He caught a wet track and he was only second best. I really don't care that much about that race. I think this horse has a lot of upside. To me, you know, especially if you don't necessarily want the horses that New Grange just beat, this is a very interesting new face.
Barber Road, 3 times stakes placed, second in the Smarty Jones, second in the Southwest. When you go back and you watch the Southwest, you'll note he must have been hung out in a 6-path on the backstretch behind that solid pace. He picked up New Grange's cover on the second turn, tipped out, and he finished second best. This is an honest little horse, and if you believe the pace is going to be fast, he might get a similar setup as his last two.
Yeah, I mean, he might, but he had good setups in his last two as well, and he was only second best in those races. I thought he ran fine in both of those starts, Dan, but I didn't see a trip excuse in either one. I just felt like he bumped into horses that were better than him, and he had to settle for second best, and I didn't necessarily see why it would be different in here. If he's going to be 9-2, that's not for me. He'd have to drift way off of that line, but I won't be surprised if he runs well again.
Mr. Lucas trying to get on the Kentucky Derby trail with the number 10 Ethereal Road, who won his maiden on the same day as the Southwest. Let's watch the stretch run of this race. Go back in your formulator replay and watch the start. This horse just had an awful start, was far out of it going into the first turn, and he's just going to charge these horses down. This is a really visually appealing performance. Now he just has to take a step up from a buyer perspective.
He did make a really good run in this race, and that win was a step in the right direction, and now maybe he can go forward again, Dan. We'll see if he can do it. Obviously, that race wasn't very fast when you compare it to the Southwest earlier on the card. It's almost a full second slower all the way around the track. But this horse did some good things. I will say, though, the trouble start as well, and he was so far out of it, but he did have some pace in front of him there. The favorite, who wound up finishing second in there, just took pressure on the lead all the way around the track.
Dash Attack won his first 2 starts, including the Smarty Jones. Now, he got pace over a wet track he might have liked in the Smarty Jones, but he also didn't break well that day and showed some agility, kniving his way through to get to the far outside, turning into the stretch before running this field down. He did not run well in the Southwest last time out. If you like him from this tough outside post, they do have a formulator fact to back it up. Here is for Kenny McPeak, Dash Attack, 3-year-old, Dirt Routers, graded stakes 31%. $4.13 ROI. Could you find an excuse for the Southwest?
No, I couldn't. And he basically got the same trip that New Grange did. And they were just sort of side by side there around the second turn. This horse just couldn't finish with New Grange. I did think he ran well 2 starts back, though, Dan. Maybe he's just a horse who really likes a wet track. And so perhaps you want to keep that in mind if the track comes up wet on Saturday. But still, even if it's not, I mean, you can't really give this horse a pass and maybe give him one more chance in this race as poorly as he ran last time. I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm that he could run better in here, but he's another one. I would want a pretty big price if I was going to bet him.
Top pick time for the Saturday race of the day. It's the $1 Million Rebel. I'm going to go with New Grange. You're going to go with New Grange. We talked about it before we came on the air. We looked at many alternatives and eventually just couldn't beat this horse.
Yeah, I wanted to pick against him too, and I just couldn't get there, Dan. I really tried hard to make Chasing Time, and he's the other horse for me, the 8 Chasing Time. I'm going to use him with New Grange. If he drifts and he's 10, 12 to 1 range, maybe I'll bet the 8 to win in this race. But I expect New Grange to be tough.
I got Chasing Time in there as well. Mike's going 2-8-10-7. I'm going 2-9-8-7 in the Rebel, and our coverage is presented by Gainesway.